Tart should be in. Verrett should be in. Only problem is the Niners don't have a lot of cap space, mostly because of Jimmy Garoppolo, who I have predicted isn't going to be on this team next year. Maybe that's how they figure out how to keep everyone. But the thing is, Trent Williams is going to be very expensive too. I don't think people understand. People look at the number, what he's going to be making, and I don't think they really get it because the cap fluctuates. It doesn't really mean anything. You got to look at the percentages. And when he gets this extension, he's going to be in 11, 12% territory. He's going to be in Hall of Fame quarterback territory. And you know what? Maybe he deserves it, man. He's a Hall of Fame left tackle, and that's a great position. All I know is making less this year, that offensive line still stunk. And if you pay him that money, I don't know if you can get Jason Verrett or Tart. Now you got to start working. It's kind of like the same thing that the Niners had with Buckner last year. Yeah, he's great, but if you bring him back, how many people do you want to let go? And the only issue is with Williams is that he's even more expensive. Plus, he's older.
Okay, so in regards to Buckner, the reason I think I would pay Trent Williams is just because he plays a premium position and you can't find anyone to replace. Okay, so that's one part of it. And number two, and here's the thing with Trent Williams and the reason why I think, though in theory, what you're saying sounds right, like all the reasons you outline, like, yeah, that gives a little caution in the wind and all of that. And the reason I would still say, no, you got to pay him is because of the way they got him, what they gave up to get him. They can't do the Emmanuel Sanders thing all over again, where you gave up 2 picks to get him and then you lose him and then you don't have 2 picks and now you have to give up 3 to replace Brandon Ayuk. They can't do that. They're not going to find. Brandon Ayuk was a better Emmanuel Sanders this season, and he has a limitless upside and all of that. But here's the problem, and it's the same thing I bring up when we talk Matthew Stafford all the time, because even at, 32, there's still not, you're not going to find many left tackles that can do all the things that Trent Williams does. And from a pass protection,
he's the best. He's the best. I'm not saying he's not. He's the best. Right? And you pay him for that.
Right. The run blocking, I think, is what people totally disregard, because the stuff he does in run blocking, because of how athletic he is totally different from what the other top dog left tackles are doing. Because he's just a freak athlete where you can make him run like 5 yards down the field and he can knock out a linebacker with a block. So those
left tackles are paid for their pass protection. Whatever they give you in run blocking is extra.
Right. His explosion, his speed, his power, everything is just really special. I think ultimately because of what they gave up and all of that, and the fact that you can't just go into the draft and say, we're going to pick Javon Kinlaw, we're going to pick another Hall of Fame type left tackle, or a left tackle that we're convinced is going to be really good. Because I think besides Sewell in this draft, there's nobody that's being regarded as the franchise type left tackle. Last year, there were 4. This year, there's nobody being regarded that way. And because of that, I think you got to stick with Trent Williams.
When I look at it is like in the NFL, the only time you pay a non-quarterback more than 10% of your cap is if you think that player might be the greatest player of all time at his position. Like, I understand the Rams giving Aaron Donald what they give him. He deserves it. And he is the greatest defensive tackle of all time. Keep him. He makes his impact every game. Is Trent Williams the greatest left tackle of all time? Some people talk about him that way. Maybe he is worth it. I just feel like either him or Jimmy G has to go. You can't have them both. You can't have Jimmy G making 26.9 and Trent Williams making 24. You can't have 27% of your cap tied up into 2 players who can't play 16 or don't play 16 games a year usually. Or even if they do play 16 games a year, it's too much. So if they get rid of Jimmy G and they go with Watson, or who's cheap for another year, or a rookie, then you absolutely can afford to splurge on your left tackle. But you got to choose one or the other. And I guess you choose the guy who's really good as opposed to the quarterback who's overpaid.
And this is why I think their decision-making this offseason is going to be so important in their evaluating their future. Because let's say they keep Jimmy, they pay Trent, and that means Tart walks, and K'Wan Williams walks, and Kyle Juszczyk, who we're going to discuss next, walks, and they lose all these people. Like, because Jimmy is not a certainty to be the quarterback even the next year in 2022, and you keep him, it makes it really difficult to watch the other players walk, because you want those other players, when you do move off of Jimmy, and go young at quarterback or go with somebody else at quarterback. So, yeah, I think, again, this offseason is going to be super interesting. The Niners got like 25 decisions that are going to make or break Kyle Shanahan's future for the next 4 years. I'm glad that all I get to do is just sit here and talk about his decisions that he has to make and evaluate the pros and cons rather than actually having to pull the trigger.
Me too. Sean has a follow-up question. It's a very good one. Isn't there a way that around the cap with Trent and others by giving salary and signing bonus?
Yeah.
Yes. But here's the thing, because I know you're going to say the same thing. We're on the same wavelength here. Yes, you can give them the signing bonus. Yes, you can backload the deal. They did that with Armstead. They do that with all. Eventually, you get to a point where you're giving Armstead 9.5% of your cap, Williams 12% of your cap. It catches up to you eventually, but you can make it work in the short term. Yeah,
No, you can't even do that with Trent Williams. You can do that with extensions. Extensions, you can do that type of stuff. This is an open market free agent. You got to pay whatever the top dollar is. That's what you're going to have to do. You got to pay the big time premium. You're not going to be.
I'm just saying, like, theoretically, you could give him like a $70 million signing bonus and probably structure his contract in a way where the cap hit year one isn't that hard, even though you're giving out a ton of cash.
But it's going to catch up to you sometime.
Yes, it will. That's the whole point. It's what they did with Armstead. And eventually, 2 years down the line, Armstead's expensive. Williams is expensive. Watson is expensive.
The way the Niners have handled it, because Parag is brilliant, is that they cut the guy before the money becomes a problem, so they never have that salary cap issue, which in theory is like fantastic, right? You never have a salary cap issue, but it sucks because if the guy is never living up to the point where you're paying him the premium and you're just getting rid of him, you're trading him, cutting him, that means you never had a really good player. And even though you didn't pay him too much money and all that, you were smart that way, it's hurting your team.
I don't know what James Foster's question is. Deion Jordan, Solomon Thomas.
He's asking you to pick one between Deion Jordan, Solomon Thomas, and Ronnie Blair. I'm going to pick Deion Jordan.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the one guy who hasn't torn his ACL.
Yeah,
Has he?
No, I don't think so.
He played pretty well this year.
Yeah, he's healthy. Right now, Deion Jordan is healthy. Solomon Thomas is not. And Ronnie Blair, I have no clue what's going on with his knee.
And again, to me, what I see with Kosaric is his value is expressed on guys like Deion Jordan, not necessarily guys like Javon Kinlaw. I mean, these first round picks, I guess, are either good or they're not. But these undrafted guys, or these busts, these disappointments, all of a sudden, Kosaric gets them at least playing at a competent level. He's great at that.
Yeah. Jordan Willis, Deion Jordan both played okay for the Niners. It's crazy because, like, it's tough to credit Kosaric for Ndamukong Suh because Ndamukong Suh was the best player in college football when he played at Nebraska.
He's a notorious underachiever in the NFL. Notorious. He's like the Randy Moss of defensive tackles. Like, he plays when he wants to. But you can give him credit for Kerry Hyder, Deion Jordan. I mean, Kevin Givens. Absolutely. He's terrific. He's definitely.
Tavius Street is a guy that's played really nicely for them the last 5-6 games of the year.